little bit different from what I was doing before. And that's what I mean. If you're going to play music and do it right, then you got to play what's inside of your here. Just whatever you're doing in your life, if you're not working out of here, I'm not talking about here. This right here hates, this is your soul, it's here. It hates God. This right here is your heart. And that's where the Holy Spirit goes with the people that God chooses. It's right here in the heart. So, but as I said, this part here will do anything to keep from surrendering to God. If y'all have been fooling with Christianity at all, you already know that. So this is where all of this conniving and stuff like that comes from. Okay, I've tried to teach my students that they're going to have to come from here, and as I said, they're upper middle class white men, generally from the north, not the south, but the north, across the United States and Canada and then Europe and so on, all that. But I tried, you got to drop this mask, and in our white culture, for most of us, it pushes us to have a mask on. Well, if you got a mask on pretending you're something you ain't, then you can't ever play the music. So if you're from West Virginia, then your dialect is, it will fit with this music here, this stuff that I was doing. So I'm going to show you just a little bit here. It'd be easier to stand up and do it. But bluegrass, how old is bluegrass? Bluegrass music. Bill Monroe cooked that thing up in the 1940s. And so it's a commercial music. It doesn't belong in home and hearth. This stuff here was born in the home and hearth, right? And it's what they had to get by. This kind of music here. And these people were really, really sharp. You know, when I was around the Hammondses, it finally started catching on. Nothing ever moved that they didn't know about. They were just on top of it, but where'd they come from? They came from out of Kentucky when the Indians were there. In fact, their ancestors were living next to an Indian tribe, an Indian village. And I'll tell you a short story that they had carried with them from there. And it was, the man was a Hammonds, or in that Hammonds family. They say he was a Hammonds. And it must be that he was married to, like, the chief's daughter. So they were living next to a village near it. And every day, this old Indian would come over and spend the day with them. And obviously, they could speak the language. So he would laugh and tell jokes and do all kinds of stuff like that. Had a big time. And there was a boy there. And the boy, Indian boy, was teaching this Hammonds boy how to use bow and arrow and all that kind of stuff. And then one day, the chief showed up. And he said, I had a dream. And when an Indian has a dream, it has to come true. So here he is, the only white people there. There was 2 white families there. And then there was the whole village there. And he said, when an Indian has a dream, it has to come true. And so, what's your dream? Well, this is the 1700s. Well, where are the rifles coming from? There have been Lancaster County, Berks County, Bucks County, Cumberland County, York County, Pennsylvania. Well, there's Germans who come in there. They were the ones who were building the mountain rifles. And so the Indians said that I had a dream, and I dreamed that I had that rifle. And the owner, the man who owned the rifle, he called it Old Speckle Valley because it had silver inlaid in it. So it was a really fancy rifle. But he knew that he had to give him the rifle. So he gave it to him, and then he was thinking and thinking and thinking how to get it back. And so he finally figured out, and so he went back, and the chief was there, and he said, I had a dream last night. He said, what'd you dream? I dreamed I had my rifle back and I had a horse. And the Indian didn't say anything for quite a while. And he finally said, take 'em face, but dream no more. So he took the horse and the rifle. And then that old Indian kept coming back. But he wouldn't talk to him. Couldn't get him to laugh, joke. Couldn't talk at all to him. They kept on and on and on. And finally, he said, till one day he said, I'm going to tell you something, but if you say it out loud, they'll kill me. If you knew what I know, you'd leave right now. And they didn't fool around. Bang, they were gone with whatever they could take. And sure enough, as they were on ahead, but whenever they reached whatever the river was, Maggie said it was the Newcon River. I don't know what river that would be, but that was what she said that it was. Now, they were from Whitley County, Kentucky. Whitley County, Kentucky is right down on the Tennessee border, right down at the bottom there. Anyway, they got to the river, and Ed and Hammonds, you ever heard of Ed and Hammonds? Okay, Ed and Hammonds is known all over the world, being one of the greatest of the old fiddlers, and he was the uncle of the ones that I knew. He died in '55, so I didn't know him. But Ed's son James, who was the same age, he was born in 1903. Sherman was born in 1903, James was born in 1905, Burl was born in 1908. And then the women were born in the 1800s. So they were the ones that was telling the story that had been passed down. But James told me, when they were telling the story, because when they got to the river, James said, the river swum the horse. That's the old way of saying it. The river swum the horse. Okay. But James said there was a baby that was drowned getting across the river. So anyway, they got across the river. The Indians were on the other side, but didn't follow them. So that's how they were able to get by. But that was a Hammond story. And of course, I was just eating that stuff up because I've been shredded to the point, as I said, nobody wanted me around. Well, this is all part of God's plan. So that I would be raised by it, but then to be rejected. Because Jesus said in Matthew 5, check it out, Matthew 5, I think it's 11 and 12, he said, when people reject you because of me, then rejoice because there's a reward waiting for you in heaven. But there's nothing in there that Jesus said, if you got good things going and you got comfort in your life and you got all these things, there's nothing in your life that's a reward waiting for you. It's only whenever people hate you. And Jesus keeps talking about people hating you. People hating you, rejecting you. Rejecting you. Anyway, I'm going to play a little bit more. I'm going to play the fiddle. I'm not going to keep pushing this. But I just want you to see that Jesus took this music from the 1700s and gave it to me. Gave it to me as a reject. And I was living with my Aunt Ada. You all remember her teaching school, Marlton, if you remember. But my Aunt Ada, she was raised in Granddaddy Woodall. His household things were really tough in his household. So my aunts, except for one at Caius, my aunts were, and my mother, just really, really tough. They didn't have any nurturing qualities about it. And that's all right, it's what God planned. But I grew up alone out there on Jericho Road in the foot of the Upine Mountains. So I'm going to play the tune, Upine Mountain, in just a few minutes on the fiddle. And it's known, you go on YouTube,